Hi, I'm Ro, and I really like Ninja Sex Party. If you haven't seen my first NSP Theory video, I highly recommend it. It deals with the 5 stages of grief after being broken up with by someone you truly love. I'd love for you to check it out if you have the time. In that video, I briefly mentioned another planned theory that I wanted to share, and this is it. Also, this theory plays on that one a little, so humor me and watch that one first before you watch this one. Back in March of 2024, I got my very first signed NSP album. I bought it with my hard-earned money like the adult I was pretending to be, and I'm so stoked that it was these nuts. After finally giving in and subscribing to their Patreon, which you should absolutely do if you can, by the way, I saw a small playlist in which Dan and Brian talk about the album. They do a short breakdown of each song and give a little bit of behind-the-scenes insight to them. While watching, they touched on the track Til You Stop, and I couldn't help but be a bit intrigued by this clip in particular.
Til You Stop is the next song. As we've gone on with this band, we've put more of ourselves into the characters and who we actually are as people, because the characters are nothing like us, obviously. And one of them is extreme social anxiety in party situations where we don't know anybody. So we wanted to write a song that has the feeling and the build and the sound of like, we're going partying, we are the master partiers, and then just be more of our honest selves where we're like, let's get the fuck out of here.
The reason I latched onto this part in particular might not feel like anything crazy, but hear me out. In the past, we've seen the character Danny Sexbang do things with what appears to be little shame or embarrassment. We know straight from the source that the reason Danny has developed social anxiety is because Avidan, the person, has started to sprinkle in more of his personal experiences into the character. Cool, we love to see that, that's awesome. But that got me thinking, what's the in-canon reason for Danny's social anxiety development? Why is he suddenly so afraid to go to parties? Why does he have panic attacks and hide in a corner and seek the comfort of a cat rather than other people? Isn't this the same Danny Sexbang who threw a whole mansion party 2 albums ago? And then it hit me. His experience with parties is negative as hell. But before we can explore that, we have to go back to everyone's favorite subject, psychology. Hey man, it's gotta be done. The National Institute of Mental Health explains that this common anxiety disorder causes individuals to fear social situations, particularly ones where they may be scrutinized or perceived poorly. These kinds of situations can include meeting new people, speaking up or asking a question in class, job interviews, and perhaps especially, parties. Not only this, but daily tasks done in public, such as eating or using a shared public bathroom, can also be difficult for those who experience social anxiety. NSP has released a total of 3 songs about parties. Let's Get This Terrible Party Started on Strawberries and Cream, Mansion Party on Cool Patrol, and Til You Stop on These Nuts. I think when put together chronologically, they tell a very compelling story about why Danny Sexbang has social anxiety specifically surrounding parties. In Let's Get This Terrible Party Started, Danny tells us about a very rare party being thrown by him and Ninja Brian, one that is apparently foretold in the scrolls. What scrolls? No idea. All we know is that these parties happen once every 100,000 years and they're supposedly epic as fuck. And then it's just not. It's a slow party, the girls are blow-up dolls, which is honestly kind of fucking funny. I love NSP. There are maybe 3 guests aside from our hosts. Some dude gets naked. Well, I would love to attend a party involving Dungeons and Dragons and the host showing off their leaf collection. This isn't exactly the party that Danny promised. And the dude that Danny invited gets pissed that he's not at the rager that Danny said he'd be at. And by the end, Danny recognizes all of this, requesting that Ninja Brian explode the building with his mind, which he does. Fucking love Ninja Brian. So, the first party we ever see Danny throw is not exactly a massive success. Will he try again and use what he's learned from this experience to hopefully enhance the next party? Of course he will. Do you know who we're talking about here? Now, here's why you should absolutely watch my other theory if you haven't yet, because it plays a role in this section. If you have watched that video, let's recall where Danny is in his journey with grief. Denial. So he's doing that thing where he hypes up things beyond belief, which we just saw him doing in Terrible Party. This time, though, it is indeed warranted because the mansion is definitely worth bragging about, but in doing so, he overbrags to various women to compensate for losing the one he actually loved, thus negating the genuinely deserved hype. By the end of the party, Battle Panda escape from the Pandagon and begin a rampage against all of Danny's guests. Again, because this literally happened last week? I don't know, man. It seems like Danny's parties have been taking some pretty tragic, traumatizing turns. This is clearly more intense than the last party, of course, considering wild animals laced with an unknown drug are running amok and killing guests. Whereas the last party was just like a massive letdown. Regardless, these are two sides of the same coin. Bad experiences with parties. I wouldn't be surprised if Danny never threw another party ever again, but I don't think this one actually happened. Walk with me for a moment. Let's once again consider the aspect of animation representing Danny's mindset to help him escape from things that cause him negative emotions. Now, do you really and truly think that Danny Sexbang owns a mansion? Or is that just him making himself feel bigger than he really is in his mind to cope? And if that's the case, then what's happening in reality? We need to figure out what the real-life equivalents are for the outlandish events in Mansion Party. We know from both Welcome to My Parents' House and Galaxy Hamster that Danny has canonically lived with his parents at least twice. His parents, as we learn in Galaxy Hamster, live in the suburbs of New Jersey. Remember that clip where Dan, the person, mentioned parts of themselves are implemented into their characters? Well, Dan grew up in Springfield, New Jersey, which is considered a suburb. If Danny Sexbang, the character, also lives in Springfield, or at least a town similar to it, and has all of his life, then I don't think it's out of the question for him to know anyone else who has also lived there for all of their lives. And look, I know the line,
"Everyone who's anyone in LA is gonna be there,"
is literally in the opening of the song, but again, he's hyping himself up in his head and making this a bigger, more extravagant event than it actually is. So why wouldn't he picture himself in Los Angeles, California instead of fuck-ass New Jersey? No hate to New Jersey, by the way. Love y'all. Let's assume that if Danny is hyping up his life in his head, that this isn't a massive party in a mansion. So what if it's just a house party with people he knows? People he went to school with, old co-workers, neighbors, etc. But how does he get these people to come to the parties in the first place? Networking is one thing, but if you're not really running with partygoer crowds, how do you get them to a party at your house? Alcohol. I believe the main draw is alcohol, copious amounts. How he gets it, I have no idea. Maybe he's got the funds, maybe Ninja Brian hooks him up. Regardless, that is some kind of extra pull that he has to get these people to his house for a party. And okay, maybe he knows a drug hookup, or maybe it's just a weed hookup. We do see Danny doing hard drugs in the music video, but again, it's all animated. I don't think Danny would actually shoot cocaine into his eyes like in First Date, and I don't think he'd actually snort champagne either. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the panda in the room? Because it's the pandas. I'm talking about the panda. Obviously, Danny does not have an illegal underground panda fighting ring in which he laces their bamboo to get them angry. As such, there's no way for pandas to escape from the Pandagon and attack his party guests. So what's the real-life parallel to this event? I asked a few people this question. My friend Lego suggested that perhaps Danny owns dogs that escape from their cages and start freaking out over the sheer number of people, leading people to panic and bolt, likely knocking things over in their escape efforts. Unfortunately, the only dogs ever mentioned in NSP lore are Tinkles and Gary, who, while referred to as Hellhounds and Unicorn Wizard, are literally just Pomeranians, and Marvin, the basset hound owned by his grandma that lives with his parents. And even if he did have dogs that got out of their cages and freaked out, there would be no reason for them to get out the following week when the song actually takes place. So that didn't quite fit into this theory. Now, I can't remember if it was Ty who brought up the possibility of police or if I just bounced the idea off of him while yapping and he played off of it. Regardless of how the topic came up, it doesn't quite fit into the scene either, because these people are adults. So the main reason they'd get the police called on them is for a noise complaint, because as far as the neighbors know, nothing illegal's going on. It's just a party. So there would be no reason for the police to make a huge fuss over a noise complaint, even if it did happen 2 weeks in a row. At best, people freak out over police presence and knock stuff over in their efforts to scatter and leave the party. My friend Fall had a funny idea that maybe there's a spider that gets spotted and then disappears, and everyone's drunk and breaking shit trying to get the fuck out of Dodge because where the fuck did the spider go? Again, it wasn't quite right. And then my friend Seth suggested that it's literally a party full of drunk people, and the chaos would need to start in the place itself, hence the escaping symbolism. It was such a simple explanation that I felt a little silly for overthinking it. Because they're right, people are bound to get shwasted and act like fools, get a little too rowdy, and accidentally or purposely break shit. Plus, it's something that could be repeated 2 weeks in a row because dumbasses with alcohol tend to remain dumbasses. And if Danny still lives with his parents, then broken stuff in the house is very likely a huge problem, which adds a layer of being afraid to disappoint his parents to his anxiety. So there we go. Mansion party, well, maybe not an actual mansion party, was still a pretty rough event for him. And honestly, even if the mansion party music video was 100% lore accurate, I'd argue that it's almost worse than just drunken idiots breaking his parents' stuff. Because then, people actually fucking died because of Danny. All because he wanted to show off. Well, he's not throwing this one, but attending what may very well be his first party in 6 years, especially after the trauma of the last one he hosted, is probably an extremely overwhelming experience for him. Over the course of the song, Danny psychs himself up to go to a house party, only to discover that he wants to leave the second he gets there. Near the end, he finds another person, played by Tom Cardy, who also wants to leave, which is when that anxiety gets kicked into high gear. Alright, I think it's time to come clean about something I've been keeping to myself until this point. When I was trying to find a real-life equivalent to the events of Mansion Party, I had one key detail in the back of my mind the whole time. You're probably wondering why I'd brought up things getting broken and knocked over during that segment, and there's a good reason. In the last chorus of Til You Stop, a glass breaks, and Danny immediately states,
I'm freaking out!
That might be an insignificant detail, one that's easily overlooked, but remember what happened at his last party when the pandas went berserk and or people got too drunk?
Oh my god!
I believe that the sound of breaking glass at a massive social gathering might just be a huge trigger for Danny. It reminds him of the havoc he caused in either version of Mansion Party. It sends him back into that state of anxiety, that fight or flight, and it probably makes him relive the fear he felt at his parents' broken belongings being something that disappointed them. Or, the fucking pandas killing people, if that's the canon event. But either way. I think Danny Sexbang is genuinely traumatized by awful party experiences in the past. His first one was completely underwhelming, his next one was entirely overwhelming, and the first party he attended in 6 years was too much for him, even after finding solace in someone in the same boat. Once again, I don't think Dan and Brian ever intended to write this specific storyline, but I think it's super cool that they're finding ways to put more of their own personalities into their personas. It makes such outlandish characters just feel that little bit more relatable. Plus, it gives me more content to work with in my silly little theories, so that's a win-win for me personally. That about wraps up this theory. Thanks again for watching, it means the world to me. If you enjoyed, leave a like and comment if you feel so inclined, and if you want to stick around for more silly little video essays, subscribe to the channel because I have a million ideas bouncing around in my brain that I would love to share with you all. Thanks again for watching, lovelies. I hope you have a lemon meringue day.